Hey guys, Tarke here with episode 13 of Baeclast, and today we're joined by Ghazzy and Raiz QT's amazing timekeeping skills. We'll be talking about summoners, racing, and rants as per usual, but first, what has everyone been up to? Ghazzy, how about you?
Uh, yeah. I tried to enjoy the Hamburger League, but yeah, I've been focusing on making build guides, pretty much updating the threads I have and trying out new stuffs. So that's pretty much it, actually.
Shit. I feel like we're on the same boat. I'm pretty much doing the same thing. I'm just messing around with guides, and I've been playing some weird trapper builds. I feel like I'm on a. It's like the arc totems. I'm on just the brink of a breakthrough, and it's about Whispering Eyes, Decay, Poison, Trapper. But it's not a Saboteur, which makes it good, and it kind of works because Whispering Eyes is like a 7 link, and then it's also got +1 to gem, so it works with the decay. But that was kind of a little bit weird. But we're still working it out. So instead, I was like, what can give me more AoE? And I basically did the same thing, except with Spark. So it's Spark, Decay, Poison, Trapper. But for this one, I have to play Saboteur, because, yeah, and Saboteur's shit, and that really makes me mad. Very, very mad. And, like, by the way, everybody who's like, yo, Saboteur is totally fine, like the Demolition Specialist or whatever works, where it procs all the traps at the same time. It doesn't work.
Doesn't work,
Like, it doesn't. Like, half of the time, it doesn't work at all. It's so awful. And people were, like, arguing with me about it, but I'm like, okay, I guess I played it like 6 years ago, so maybe they fixed it since then. No, Saboteur is awful. Don't play it. The only reason to play with Saboteur is the fact that GGG decided to like completely abandon traps at some point, I think, because they were like increasing the clear speed meta, but the traps stayed the same cooldown for like years now. So you've got like 6 times faster clear speed, but you still have the same amount of traps. So you never have enough traps. So that's like the only reason why I'm playing Saboteur. But yeah, you shouldn't. Don't play Saboteur, kids. So that's quite the meme build. I don't know. It's working out pretty well for leveling right now. We'll see how it works out later.
I'm watching
Isn't
that.
the thing with, like, doesn't it only trigger based on the radius of the other traps, which is why like only half of them proc or something?
I don't think there's any sort of rule to it, honestly. Sometimes it doesn't trigger traps that are far away. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't trigger traps that are close. Sometimes it does. I think it has to do something with like the way traps land at the same time and trigger, but I don't know. And sometimes you get the thing that repops the trap, right? You have like a 10% chance that it's still there, and that seems to work, but then it doesn't proc again, and you can't tell if it's the respawn or if that trap didn't proc. Like, it's just it's really
Just play
weird stuff.
mines.
Because traps are cool because you can throw them. So you throw them at the edge of the screen, and then the spark has a lot of AoE, so it covers like 2 screens away. So technically, you can cover like 3 screens, which actually has been working pretty great. But yeah, Saboteur is like really weird because you think Saboteur will have trap damage. It doesn't. Saboteur has like elemental damage, so it doesn't scale my decay. Like it just, yeah. But for mines, it's great, I guess. It's
Oh,
just for traps, it's
it's
really weird.
also really bad as well because I very briefly played an arc miner, and like the miner 2 pointer literally does nothing for
Yeah.
arc because it only gives like AoE. But then
Hmm.
you get the mine 4 pointer, and it's something like you have all the arming speed in the world, and it's like amazing. And then it's like nothing. And since most people use combs as well, the blind 2 pointer is even worse than it normally is because you can't like evade stuff. Um, like even if they didn't change anything about Sab mechanically, but they just changed it to like generic trap and mine damage throughout, and then like split the 4 pointer between the 2 pointer or something, like it's pretty shitty for so many builds.
It's like so crazy too when you get like once you're in cruel, you've got your build like set because what else are you gonna pick up? Like blind? Like what the hell are you gonna
Mm.
do with that? So get the you get the blind, but the blind is conditioned. You get 30% increased damage, which is crazy, right? So much damage. 30% increase, that's ridiculous. But it's conditioned. because it's also behind blind. Like, it makes no sense. Like, it's just 30 damage. Just give me that 30 damage. The mobs don't need to be blinded. Makes no sense, man. And then there's like blind duration too. Like, what the fuck? If I decide to not attack the mob for 5 minutes straight, then it's still gonna be blinded because there's blind duration.
Blind's pretty damn good, actually.
Blind
it goes
is
off
great.
a lot. It goes off a lot. I've noticed that
Yeah.
on bosses.
No,
So,
but blind is nice. It's just I don't feel like you need blind duration because you're continuously attacking the stuff. So
yeah.
it's
No.
quick saboteur rant, I guess, to kick things off. Sorry.
Before we like move on to like what CuteDog's been up to, one other thing which annoys me is when they changed the way Scion works. Scion Saboteur is worse than it used to be because it used to have like cooldown recovery for traps and stuff.
Yeah.
And when I was trying to make my Arcmine character work, I was like, well, since Sab isn't that great, maybe I could do something cool with Scion. I'm like looking through it, it's like, this doesn't do anything for traps or mines. Cool. Like, good job, yeah? And it's also really annoying because this league, especially since we have the Harby belt, that gives cooldown recovery. And we don't know if we're going to have that in the future. I really want to do traps now because we'll have more cooldown recovery than I'll ever have. But it's just like, there's no fucking reason to. So
Yeah, but that's also the bad part too, right? That if you're getting the Harbinger belt, then you're giving up on Sound Blast and 2 cheap constructs to perk your traps automatically. And
Yeah.
since like the Malicious Specialist doesn't work half of the
Yeah.
time, you gotta use that. It's such a it's in a really weird spot. CuteDog, tell us some
Yo.
PMA. Let's go.
Yo, positive mental attitude. So we're, what, 2 months into the league? Almost 2 months?
about that, yeah.
Yeah. Been playing the good old build, a little discharge action, a little wander action for a while. I have a boss killer, Glacial Cascade Mines. Changing something up with this league, whereas like in the previous leagues when I got down with the character, I just sell off all the gear, like everything. Like cannibalize it, switch over the character into something else. This league, I'm keeping most of my characters so that I can like have a little bit of variety. I think it's adding a little bit of longevity to the league. So for example, I'll like clear Guardian maps with a Discharger, switch over to the Miner to kill the boss, and then like when I get bored of that, I switch over to a Wander, and then I can do different stuff. And I also like do Shaper and stuff. So just try to do some variety. I did my first hardcore playthrough yesterday night, and yeah, I'm still alive. I'm on my way to Domino's, and I DC'd in the upper scepter. I didn't have the waypoint, so I was like, I had to go back to Imperial Gardens. I was like, I'll do this tomorrow. So I played a few hours of that, and hardcore, it's a lot of fun. I didn't think I'd enjoy it at all. I did it just as like a stream challenge, whatever. I was like, fine, I'll play hardcore for you guys, and I'm very surprised at how much fun I'm having. I can like totally see the draw of it. I haven't had like that many close calls, like maybe like 20% HP and stuff, but yeah, it's a great time.
Is this like your first proper hardcore attempt then?
Yeah. The last time I ever played hardcore was I played with Ziz on controller, and we just went through Act 1, and so it was like full of memes. But yeah,
Wait,
this is
you
like
guys
legit.
only made it to Act 1?
Well,
I thought
we
you
didn't
guys
have time. We were playing on controller, so like it was like really hard to like move around and stuff, and because it was like simulated, right? Like the analog sticks for the mouse, and so this is like legit hardcore. I plan on playing some more today, and we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, I can. My goal is to like maybe make it to Act 10 Kataba, but we'll see.
Yeah. No, I can definitely agree with the whole like jumping between characters thing, because normally what I do in like past leagues is I'll either just play one character and until I rip it, or I just like constantly re-roll but not visit my old ones. Whereas this league I've been making an effort to bounce around, and I'm sat on like 2 96s and a couple of like 92s and 93s. And for someone who normally gets like bored, like my previous highest for this league was only 94, because I normally just get bored of characters. Just like putting something away for a week and just having a break from it and then coming back to it is quite nice.
Yeah, but then how did you level to 96?
My first one did quite a lot of beachhead, but that was my Magmob character. My second character didn't do any. And like to be fair, I've mostly been doing like just really rippy breach farming. Because the dude I play duo mostly, and the guy I play a lot with is like obsessed with, we must have like 20-30 pack size on every map, and he's just like, by the way, this is minus max damage, double damage mods, and you just see like Esh balls pop up, and he's like, oh shit. But I'm currently, if you like remember, you know how I say the life gain on hit is the best mechanic this game's ever had? a little TLDR, Tornado Shot plus Thief's Torment broken with Mind Over Matter. I'm playing, like, one of my characters is a Slayer with just like 5.5k-ish HP and like 2k mana. One attack instantly refills my entire mana pool, and I have something like 6,000 HPS just from like attacking, then Corrupted +1 bow, +1 quiver, Dying Sun, Tornado Shot, Helm Enchant. I use a Quill Rain in an attack-based build. It sounds really dumb, but Immolate kind of works for some reason, because my support gives me so much. And quantity meta, by the way. So I've got like Bisco's Leash, Thief's Torment, 2-player party. We've got like 160% quant, and like a Chiela drops, and it's just like mad splinters. It's actually surprisingly decent. You're making faces, but it's actually like really good. So yeah.
Thief's Torment?
Like no troll. It's like Thief's Torment, no troll is legitimately surprisingly nuts. Like,
What do you mean you're making faces? That's just Ghazzy's face. Don't tell him he's making faces.
it's really, really good. Just try it. Like, try it on... Because like, if you think about Tornado Shot, right? So I have like 9 projectiles. Then each projectile splits into 4 more projectiles. I'm using a Quill Rain with Immolate. It works. It works. Like, watch some of my VODs or something.
And you're playing with a support, and you're like killing things?
Yeah. If I'm playing solo, I can use the Quill Rain, but it's a bit slow. My normal best on slot bow is just a Lionized Glare. But with the support, because he gives me so much damage, I've actually like spec'd out of all of my DPS nodes. I like spec'd into Quick Step, changed my Bandit rewards to Caitlyn. Like, it's that stupid. And it really works. And he just gives me super curses and like a super anger. And it's just like pow pow pow. Inspired Blinding, so I've got like all the buffs and stuff.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, it's just weird to me. Like, I really like life gain on hit. Like, I think it's really powerful, but mana gain on hit, just giving up 2 ring slots, well, I guess 1 ring slot, it's kind of weird.
It's got the OG seal of approval if you look in chat. I'll find a VOD for it and play it in the background. But, so yeah, that's sort of what I've been up to. But I did very recently, I tried to play a Golem character, and it was so bad, I brought on a summoner so I can rant about summoners with you guys on Baeclast. So yeah, as someone so the only other like summoner builds I sort of played before this, I played a lot of like nulls before, kind of like wonky animate weapon. I've always liked the idea of specters, but never played one because having to constantly collect the specters seemed terrible. So I tried a Golem answer. The AI is like the worst thing I've ever touched in the game.
What?
And now I never want to play Golems again. So I was playing with like 5 Golems. You know how if you're on a boss, if you run around, your Golems stop attacking to follow you? So
No. What?
Yeah, if I like walk around the room, my Golems stop attacking, just follow me, and that's with the aggro duel.
Yeah, but you can direct them in spots.
Yeah, you can, but at that point I found it was best just stand still and just spam Flesh Offering, Ball Lightning, Flesh Offering, Ball Lightning.
You don't have to spam it. Isn't it like, Ghazzy, I don't know, it's like 4 seconds or something that they attack for?
Sadly not.
Oh, really? Is that with the
it's bad.
aggressive gem or something?
Well, it's not as bad as zombies. You know, it's not instantly, oh, fuck the boss, we gotta go to our summoner, but it's almost as bad, despite having
shit.
aggressive duels. And it's, 200 times more expensive.
I think I'm spoiled because I was playing. It's been a while since I played with golems, and I played it on SRS. So they were just like, I would just teleport them. They would one-shot the screen, and I would just keep moving. So that was really simple. But I've been playing with Wickermen, and they are so smart. I don't know.
Wickerman's good.
They're so crazy smart. Like, I just point them anywhere on the screen. They go there. I can even point them to go past mobs to attack like a cannot die totem. It's really ridiculous how smart they are. You can point them anywhere, and if you point them once, they stay there for like 10 seconds straight or something.
They're really
They don't
good.
ever want to come back to you. So I was thinking golems are the same, but guess not.
Yeah, the specters in general are so much better with the AI. Even solar guards, you can kite around quite a lot without them stopping their attacks. But it's different when you have minions that has 1 or 2 abilities. Wickerman has 2, well, default attack and the unrighteous fire, which is never being used after they initiate it. So they're pretty straightforward. I mean, Katana Heralds are even worse, for example, with 4 different attacks. But the golems are originally based as a buffer rather than a damage provider. as a minion. So I think their AI is more in line with how the zombies works, but they're ranged. So basically, well, at least the flame golems, which are generally used for damage output. So they're pretty much used for that. But their rubber band effect is like maybe 50% better, approximately, just throwing out numbers, than the zombies. The zombies are instantly running back to you.
Damn.
Yeah, because like when I originally played that character, because I know that I normally don't like builds which are slow, I went like 250% movement speed, because my idea was, you know, if you run too far ahead, your minions teleport behind you. Was I'll just run through all the packs with phasing and be really cool. It felt great for the easy content. The second I actually had to like stop for like bosses or anything, my movement speed felt completely worthless because I would just like move 10 foot and half of my golems would stop attacking. So I ended up just dropping all of my movement speed and just went life stacking. It's kind of similar to what you did in your SSF character. In the end, I had to sign like 8k HP and was just shield charge, ball lightning, offering. It was just,
Yeah, it's weird to me. I remember I was doing like the SRS Flame Golem thing, and their AI seemed pretty okay. And then I transitioned into like a Shaper farmer with like Poison Chaos Golems. And yeah, their AI was a little bit like they would return, but I never felt like it was like a massive issue. But I guess if you're going through a map, then yeah, you can really feel it.
Well, if you're casting SRS, wherever you hover your mouse at, even if the SRS lands on you, wherever you hover your mouse is still controlling them, so you can still point them, keep them aggressive, whilst not, moving into harm's way. While Shaper, you have to move so much that the rubber band effect starts getting more visible.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, and by the way, in the background, I put my Tornado Shot character if you want to see it, Rise, just because you don't believe in the...
No, I like the idea. It's just, yeah, I think isn't it like, whoa, you even clear pretty fast.
Yeah,
Isn't it like super dependent on the support then or something?
No,
like...
I can actually do 2-player HP without him. But the reason why it clears so fast is we literally realized that we had enough damage that I equipped the Quill Rain, and that's with 40% less attack damage. And I spec'd out of like Catalyze and Templar. Like I literally spec'd out of everything and went full attack speed. I could have pushed that character to 100 if I was the kind of person to not get bored of characters. But we'll do like 3-4 hours of Spider Forest and Vault every day. And
holy shit!
This
is really good.
You try to Wind Ripper on this?
I was gonna do Wind Ripper on it, but the problem is I was doing like a pure Avatar of Fire setup, and obviously you need to be like shattering stuff. But if I was to remake this character now, I would do it not on a Slayer, I'd do it and like a Raider, and I would go crit. This was like just EO, this was non-crit. And I'd go like ice-based and yeah, shatter mobs and stuff for Wind Ripper. But
Wouldn't the Scion be better?
I was also thinking about Scion. Another thing you can do, just completely off topic, is you can actually do poison with this setup really well. Because Quill Rain doesn't affect poison damage. So you can just go loads of flat added chaos, and you have like really nutty single target. If you remember like Mathel's Wasp's character, it's the exact same principle. Just get like all the uniques like Dendrobate and stuff, all the extra proj, and it just scales really well. But yeah.
Takes forever to build up though.
Yeah.
Like that's I played something with that. I can't remember anymore. And yeah, just like it takes so long. Like once it's doing damage, it's doing damage. Like poison in general feels like that right now, where it's like once it's ticking, it's really going if you're spec'd into it properly. But yeah, the build up takes a couple years.
But yeah, so I went from this build directly into playing my Golem build. So maybe that might also have been why Golems felt so painful for me.
No, this shit is going really good. I'm not surprised that you felt it was pretty painful. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe with the SRS, because you're constantly attacking, and I guess you were only just shield charging and like ball lightning every now and then. Yeah. So it wasn't nearly as many actions that you were performing.
Yeah. Oh, and my favorite thing. So I'm curious on your guys' like input on this. Offerings not having a timer was the thing I hated the most about that character. Like, who the fuck? So I started as Necromancer, because I was like, I just want the most movement speed possible so I can clear through maps really quick. And then I got so frustrated with not knowing when the offering was on me, and like we used to do a lot of like super rippy map mods and stuff, so my golems would die to LE damage sometimes on air shots, but fuck it, I'll just respec into Elementalist, they're immune to like all the damage. And then I don't care as much about offering up time. But like, why the fuck do Necromancers not have... They have the buff on their buff bars, but no timer? Like, why? Like, yeah.
Maybe it's just an unfair. I don't know, Ghazzy. Have you ever messaged them? Like maybe it's some sort of unfair advantage because you don't have the buff bar if you're not Necromancer.
If I've messaged them, I think I had.
Okay, how many times? Yeah.
I think I've had a conversation, or well, a discussion ongoing with Rory a few years back that went on for almost 2 years, where we talked about flesh offering and double offering timers, Spectre quality of life, rubber band zombies, Spectre scaling. The list goes on. The only answer I really got that was worth mentioning was, "Oh, but it's on the table. It's on the table. This is 4 years ago."
Yeah, I remember like when I started streaming like 4 years ago, I was like, yo, Spectres, they're really annoying to resummon. You guys got to do something about that. Like I disconnect all the time. That was like back when the game, like there was only like 32, you could only run 32 systems or something somehow, and the like if you had that, then you couldn't have like over 4 gigs of RAM or something. So if you were one of those people, the game would like constantly crash over and over. So if you're playing the summoner, it's like the worst thing ever. And I remember making like a really angry Reddit post, like, what the fuck? Like, what is this shit? I constantly have to resummon my stuff. Your game is shit. And I remember Chris Wilson came out and he was like, dude, we got you. We're totally gonna fix this. Give us like 2 weeks, permanent Spectres. It's coming, homies. This was 4 years ago. From the man himself. And I'm just like, no, not like this. I don't know. It's insane, right? Like they must have some mumbo jumbo in the code. Like it's almost unbelievable that they wouldn't really go for it. Especially if you're saying it's like a 2-year ongoing conversation with no solutions.
But then again, I mean, I've always said on my stream that, people have to realize and remember the fact that Path of Exile is a free-to-play game, and we're not, forced to spend any money on it except stash tabs. And basically, the
Free game, no bitching.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and then again, they make changes and whatnot that they feel the community wants or needs. So if the majority of the community is screaming for something, then they do changes according to that. But then again, there is a there is a pattern of between every 2 to 6 weeks for the past 4 years. Every 2 to 6 weeks, there is one post on Reddit that hits the front page. Everyone's bitching about it. Everyone's agreeing. And it's about summoner quality of life, maybe zombie specters or whatnot. There's always one post every 2 to 6 weeks for the past 4 years that shows, and most of the comments is based around like, I don't play summoners because of this. If they fix this, I would play summoners. So they know that there is a large part, or a very big part of the community that wants to play summoners, but don't because of these issues, and they don't fix it.
Yeah, but they have the numbers, It can be just like a very vocal minority. And like they just look at the numbers and they don't really believe it. It's like the people were saying, if you change the fact that this and this with racing, I would totally race. And then they like changed a bunch of things, and racing was like in the exact same state in terms of like how many people were actually doing it.
Didn't they do that with PvP and desync as well?
What do you mean?
Like they did with the PvP stuff focused with Leo and everything. And a lot of people were complaining about the desync and saying that if they fixed desync, more people would play PvP. When desync was fixed, PvP was already dead.
Well, PvP is like, I don't know. Well, I guess both PvP and racing is kind of not really a thing.
I mean, I'd argue there's a very big difference between PvP and then summoners. Because even if fixing summoners didn't improve the summoner community, that's actually a core part of their game they are supporting, because they keep making items for it. It's not like mines, right? There's only one unique mine item, which is Tremor Rod. So maybe like this late into the game, they just be like, maybe no one will ever play a mine build, and we never need to address issues. But they're actually like addressing issues with the mines and traps somewhat, and they keep.
Yeah, but that's the thing about summoners. I feel like summoners are really the only class that they're kind of like, forget about it. Even if they do positive changes, I remember there were multiple situations where they would fix a bug or implement some sort of change that was actually like pretty helpful for summoners, and they wouldn't be in the patch notes. And you'd be playing, and like a year later, it's like, oh yeah, this was in the game a year ago. It's like, what? I didn't see this anywhere. Like
No.
I especially remember, I think it was like Beacon of Corruption. There was some sort of bug with that, and then they didn't mention it, but then it was fixed. It was like a lot of the Dom blow changes they fixed over time, and then they didn't talk about them at all. It's
No.
really weird because it's positive changes. Why don't they just like mention it in the patch notes at
I
all?
mean, sometimes it even goes to the extent where they forget to fix things that needs to be fixed. I mean, you can take a look at the item Femmer of the Saints. It was released, and they allowed the item to still drop. And let me actually see if I can get the exact quote. Basically, the item was introduced, and there was a lot of bugs around it. And the wiki says, let's see, the minion life regeneration, Femmer Saints. All right, so they fixed the bug where the increased minion attack and cast speed per skeleton. This is when they actually fixed it. You own on Femmer Saints was not working. This can now cause. This now also causes a similar performance issue that was experienced with the minion life regeneration with the SRS mod. And then they say, we are now aware of this issue and looking into a method of fixing it. This is patch 2.1.1D. And then the lockdown, the limitation on enemy weapon, SRS, and all of that went down to 20. That was supposed to be a fix for it, but I've heard some people still have some issues with it. But it's generally fixed by that patch, which was what 3.0. No, it was that 2 point something.
No, that was right before 3.0. The one with like, yeah, that was a weird one too, because they were like fixing such minor things. That was really funny too, because I was playing my low life Domblow Mjolnir summoner, and I had a lot of auras and I had a lot of minions, so the character was completely unplayable because Mjolnir lags, minions lag, auras lag. Like I was just teleporting around. It was completely unplayable. And it was the same issue that you would always have with SRS, you know, the whole I couldn't move meme and all that shit. That came from the fact that whenever you just had too many things with auras, the game would just lag, like really bad. And depending on how servers were doing, it was like a really big problem or sometimes not as big of a problem. And I like completely trashed that character. I was like, GGG doesn't let me play my shit, my Mjolnir build. And then the next day, they released some sort of like really short patch thing. And there's like a bunch of really minuscule changes that they did. And part of that was minions now don't lag or something like that, basically. And it was just working, apparently. And now it apparently works. I don't know. Does it? Like, I've heard it works, and I should play the build again, but I don't want to.
I'm actually today going to recreate my beta dominating blow build, which went consistently over 100 minions. And the issue with the R calculation on minions going in and out of range, it's not that much of a problem anymore. But I think that's together with well, for the most part, I think the SRS and the animate weapon was the biggest issue there, which had limited at the same time as they're continuously optimizing the game's performance in general. But it's not the best, but it's better than before at least.
Yeah, I've heard that it was like a really massive change. And I've played the SRS this league, and I didn't feel the lag at all. Like zero lag, no issues. While last league or 2 leagues ago, yeah, it was almost unplayable. It was really bad. Sometimes the servers would be terrible, and like I would be playing with Carve, and he'd be playing SRS too, and it was just like, what is this even? And now, yeah, it was great. It was to me, it was a massive change that they just kind of skimmed over. I was like, yeah, we fixed it all of a sudden, no big deal. It's like, yeah, it's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, it really doesn't seem that bad anymore because, like, on my Magmob character, which I did a lot of Beachhead, whenever there were aura monsters in my group, I'd be like, oh no, this is gonna be really bad in the last room. But it was really smooth. The only like big offender now is anyone who uses fucking Gore MTX. I swear, you could have like the most insane group, and there's that one Sunder bro, like, oh, I've got Gore Sunder, mate. He can like crash everyone. And because I was playing Magmob at the time, I would always get the blame. They'd be like, oh, Tarke, why are you crashing people? I'm like, it's not me, it's the Sunder bro. And the difference between him turning his MTX on and off, like, no one would ever disconnect. I would make the entire party like blind. I would like cause long-term retina damage. But it was this one dude with like multi-strike stun go pat pat, and like 5 people just leave the instance.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, it's bad when the Magmor MTX guy is complaining about
Yeah.
like eye cancer and the crashes from other people.
Isn't the same issue with the Firestorm MTX as well?
I haven't used that in such a long time.
I
mean,
never had a problem with that. A lot of people say that there's a big issue with the Firestorm MTX. I never really had that. Fireball
some
MTX,
issues.
I had that.
I mean, we have the expert here, CuteDog. If you had to rank MTX in terms of performance, like where do they fall on the graph? You know?
Yeah, gore's pretty bad. Like the secondary gore thing you put on your weapon, just never use that. Never use anything like Carcass Jack. I mean, I use Gore Glacial Cascade just because the regular Glacial Cascade looks garbage, right? But I mean, mines are so slow that like you can play on a laptop and you'd be fine with that. Yeah, I think the performance is really good now. I do remember a time, maybe it was 1 league ago or 2 leagues ago, where the reason I don't play Summon is first, I don't like the playstyle, but I had this guy say like, hey, I'll make you do a lot of damage. Can I come to your hideout? I was like, yeah, sure. And the damage was insane. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, let's do a map. We did like a race course or something. And then if he like ever got off my screen, like I couldn't move my character. He would just be like stuck, and he'd be like just like rubber banding, and you know, like Raiz QT is like the classic. I couldn't move, man. Shit game. And then like it was so bad that I just never wanted to deal with it again. And I think it did have something to do with like the auras, but now it's fine. I've seen people cast SRS in my hideout and run around. Everything's like perfectly smooth. Right now, I think the biggest thing is like I don't know if MTX and stuff, and especially stuff with the Harbingers, it causes like game crashes now. I've been getting a lot, but stutter because of that stuff, not really an issue.
Oh, that was the thing for me with game crashes too with Direct 11. Like, Direct 11 never worked for me. It either stuttered or it was just awful because it would crash all the time. And like I couldn't play on Direct 9 because it would crash constantly. Direct 9X, I had to like reset my game every hour or two, and I was playing Summoner, so I'd have to get like the Spectres against it. That was really annoying. And Direct 11 would just crash over and over. And I would like test it every 2 weeks, and then there wasn't even a patch or anything. But like 2 weeks ago, I started using it again to record a video, and I haven't crashed since, ever. Like, I don't know if other people have had the same experience, if there was some patch or something they did, but the game, yeah, Direct 11 works amazing for me now.
Yeah,
really
I don't
like it.
crash on Direct 11 anymore. I can't even play it on 9. If I'm on 9,
Yeah.
I'll crash like every 5 or 10 minutes. The only thing I have now, which has suddenly started again in like the last few days, because we run a lot of vaults, I keep getting this thing where I can't enter the last boss room. Like, I just spam click on the door for like 5 minutes. I don't know what. That's the only thing I'm struggling with at the moment. But the thing that I love about that is anyone who's ever had the can't enter instance, on the 100th click you finally get in, because you've been double clicking the whole time, you instantly then click again and leave. And it's just like.
The racing struggle.
Yeah,
you do that in a race, and it's like the most triggering thing ever.
Yeah.
God damn it.
But yeah, so going back to like the whole summoner thing, so I'm quite interested, because for me, like the thing which made me want to try it was the Spectre thing. So cute for you to try a summoner, like what would it take for you to be like, okay, I want to try this now?
Minion AI and like the speed. Like
Yeah, but
I have played before.
Just real quick, sorry. Have you like actually tried it before, or have you just look at it and you're like, no?
No, I've played a Golemancer, Fire Golems like twice. I tried it for a couple days each time. Spent the money, got like the minion attack speed rings and everything, or not attack speed, sorry, move speed. So I was like, okay, I'm like watching this, everyone's so slow. Maybe if I just like spend the money, it'll be fine. So I had like a +1 shavs and +1 like chest and like just the best of the best Fire Golem enchant and whatever on the helm. Like this was back when ES too, so I had like 12,000 ES, and I didn't like how there was so much cleanup. Like the golems do a lot of damage, but what happens is like I'm so used to running through a map, right? And then like if you run far enough, the golems teleport to you automatically, and like you look back and there's like maybe a couple stragglers, and I hate stragglers in maps, and like so I just kind of quit after a while. I don't think the primordial jewels. I think they were like okay, but I think the minions need to be faster, and they need to. I don't know. I don't like how they just shift around and there's like bad cleanup.
I think that you need to play another build called Spectres with the Solar Guards that will, perform better with a fraction of the currency input. That would absolutely be the better version. Because I mean, the Golem builds has mainly been used with the Elementalist to cheese, with, Shaper and Uber theory, and that's pretty much it. The clear speed is, as Tarke was saying earlier about the whole rubber band effect, is so annoying, and that causes stragglers. Because if you're moving, because you want to shield charge through the map consistently, then you land in a situation where your Golem's not attacking because they're busy following you. Whilst the Solar Guards, as Rice was saying earlier, the Spectres with both Wickerman and Solar Guards are so much better in the AI and how smart they are. And since Solar Guards are ranged, you'll be pretty much doing the same thing as a Golem build, but just more effectively for a fraction of the currency.
Yeah.
The Solar Guards is the are they like the crisscrossy light beam guys?
Yeah, the Kamahama guys.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
that
like
was
that.
one thing which really triggered me, actually, because I'd sunk like 35x into my Golem thing around the same time you made your Solar Guide like video, and I was watching it and I just got really triggered, because I was just kind of like, fuck this guy. I've spent like 8 exalts to fix my Golem AI, and it's like a million times worse than this shit. And in my final like Golem video, I even said, just look at like Ghazzy's guide or like Rise's SRS thing, it's probably better, and just like, I was so triggered. But so how would you guys rate them now? So like if you had to go like Spectres versus SRS versus Golems, like what's your like tier list then?
Well, SRS. There's nothing more to be said.
I mean, that's the thing. What I really loved is what, like, the combination of things where, you really don't like Stranglers. I have got the same thing, but like with my build, Wickermen were so good that I completely transitioned into like just having 2 Wickermen and just pointing them to things that they would kill the entire screen, and every now and then you'd have like 1 or 2 mobs left over, and you just cast 1 SRS and that shit cleans it up. Like I would only have like 2, 3, at most 4 SRS out at a time, and the Wickerman would just kill everything. So like that was really the perfect playstyle for me, because I didn't want to play like regular SRS and then Wickerman were there, and I'm like, okay, this is actually ridiculously good. But in the past, that would be that's what Golems would do for me in combination with SRS, because you have those 1, 2 mobs left over with Golems, and just SRS cleans it up. But it's just so much better with Wickerman. They're just genius. They're genius mobs.
Is there a video you could put up for the like the middle section of like either Solar Guards or like the current like best summoner builds?
Yeah.
So I guess people in chat can see.
Yeah. Get them. So.
depends.
Ghazzy, your VODs, would they be good for that?
Which one?
For Solar Guards, or have you got anything that I could find real quick?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the guide, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah,
got
I'll
the
look
Solar
that up.
Guard.
Yeah, I'll look that up.
Basically, like SRS is so good because of the options you have. Not only the AI is superior than everything else, excluding animate weapon, because it's kind of niche, and either you require a ton of currency to be playing it effectively, or you're just going to be doing maps and require you to bring in weapons to the field, unless you're doing some sneaky shit with Spectres to initiate those darts, which I prefer. But like SRS, you have 2 options. Either you go for a boss killing approach, or you go for a map clearing approach, and then the other choice is non-Baron versus Baron. And everything works. You can do everything. You can do a Lycosid, or whatever you pronounce it, Scourge Claw, shield charging SRS build, which does extremely well. Handles tier 15 maps as well. Tier 16, you're gonna have some issues with the Guardians. And then if you equip a Baron, you're going to be a little bit slower than the previous build version, but your boss killing potential versus both Guardians and Shaper is so much better. But you also have the possibility to do Uber theory in softcore, because I would not recommend SRS for hardcore anymore. Due to the later changes in the game. But the options you have as an SRS build is just so good. And the currency input, you can do a very low budget build and still clear tier 14, tier 15 maps reliably and fast.
Okay. We have the video up in the middle here. I'd be very interested in maybe trying that build. The animations of the attacks look pretty cool. That's nice. I like builds that look good. So, are they tanky though? Like, because if you have to get these mobs and they die, you have to go get them again, right? And it's like,
The Spectres?
Yeah.
the solar guards as well. Yeah.
Well, that brings us into another
those are
topic.
specters, but
The specters, their highest level campaign area for the solar guards are level 60 from Harbor Bridge. Quick note, don't use them because they don't work with another flaw in the game's design, which is called the Desecrate Bug. And that is a bug where your specters is, for some reason, when you're entering a map, they exist in the Desecrate table. And what I mean with that is that when you Desecrate, the monsters you spawn in the map is determined by the monsters existing in that map. And the bug makes that the specters that you bring into the map exist on that table, so they can actually spawn from your Desecrate. It doesn't work on all maps. It's certain maps, and actually most maps. But if you use the lower level Solar Guards from Solaris, which are level 59, you can bring them in most maps to actually scale them up, because Spectres is the only ability in the game that doesn't work like the rest of the game, where your minions in this case are scaled by the level of the gem. Instead, they're being scaled by the area level they're summoned in. And the same thing for Wickerman as well. So when you have Soul Weaver Ascendancy Node and you summon them in a higher level map, like 78 plus, they should never die until you reach a Guardian. They shouldn't die. And if they do, you've done something horribly wrong.
Yeah, Wickerman never died for me, no matter what. Even on Guardians, they just did not.
Yeah.
They were just blasting through everything. Just, I don't give a fuck about you, and just killing Chimera, no problem.
Yeah. The Wickerman is a tankier than Solar Guards as well.
I can imagine that, for sure.
Wickerman are like RF bros, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is that all they do? Is it just like RF and auto attack, or?
No, well, they have Molten Strike too, which is like pretty sick. But the RF does so much damage that, yeah, especially in like my setup, because I was using Scourge Claw, so that also gives them damage. That, yeah, they would basically almost never ever use the Molten Strike, because they would just kill everything with the RF, like as they were approaching it and just moving on, right? So yeah, and they also, like, that's the thing that I've seen some situations where like mobs would queue attacks the same way bosses do. So specters would do that. They would like queue an attack so that they would attack even if the mob isn't there anymore. Like Wickerman that do that, they just like plow through everything.
Are there like any other good specters, or just sort of those two at the moment? I know people were really hyped for the ice carpet things in beta, or did that just not really pan out?
Well, they were good. Ravagers were good as well, but you know it all comes down. Yeah, I mean it comes down to efficiency of the value of the minions you choose to run with. I mean you can do Ravagers because you can use Hatred and whatnot because they have a Blade Fall ability, but ultimately they can't compare to the other approach. A lot of people were hyped about the Katana Heralds because they were so tanky. But their problem is the whole, like I said about queuing attacks, is that they have 4 different attacks: the default, Cleave, which causes bleeding, projectile, and leap slam. Where leap slam is the most overpowered broken shit ever. Don't watch the video now, please. So basically,
that's the good part.
I didn't have a flame dash.
It's okay. I've died in Bill Guy videos before too. It's like whatever.
Yeah. I gained some IQ. I've learned that from you. So basically, it's all about the efficiency you get from the specters when you choose to play with them, and the Solar Guards are just so effective because of their AI and they're ranged. Otherwise, Wickerman would be so much stronger for clear speed, but they're better for bosses in general. But they're melee, and they have melee range despite having the AoE. So the Wickerman and Solar Guards are really in the top list there, whilst the other minions that comes after either have too many attacks for them to be properly optimized or min-maxed, or they're just not good enough. Because there are some really good choices, but they just fall off the list compared to these 2 specific specters.
Do you actually want the solar dudes to use the Kamehameha, or do you just want them to be? Because like I've seen them use that, and it doesn't seem that great compared to just their auto attack.
It's better damage actually, but at least according to the database. But clear speed is so much better if you're using if they're using the fireball. Since we're using GMP for map clearing, so it's just 10 times better. And we're basing the support gems according to the projectile. I'm not sure if that Kamehameha is considered a projectile or not. I don't actually consider that at all.
I mean, it can't be, right?
No, I don't think so. I think it's like a beam hit, like a scorching ray or something.
Yeah. Unless
That's
it's like
cheating,
Bull
though.
Lightning or something, where it's like AoE, but still gets scaled with projectile, but you can't split it. But then Bull Lightning you can. I don't know. There's like the tagging right now. The game is really, really weird sometimes.
Yeah. Unending Hunger is so broken for specs. I'm not sure if you were using that in your SRS build.
I tried it out. It was interesting. Like it's really, really good, but it sucks up the souls for your Vol Haste
Because I think
because
that, sorry.
yeah, it's just to anybody that doesn't know, Unending Hunger gives your specters a chance to gain Soul Eater on kill. And that's great, but if you've ever fought a Soul Eater mobs and you've got a Vol ability, it sucks up the souls of the mobs around you, either from the ones you spawn or just, enemy mobs. And yeah, if your Spectre gets Soul Eater, then yeah, it gets really pumped up, but at the same time, it's eating up the souls of the Vol haste, and that was like a really big issue for me. But yeah, an ending counter outside of that worked pretty freaking well. It's just I couldn't because I was also using SRS. I felt like I couldn't really give up on the Vol haste. It was just so good, even after the nerfs.
No, I didn't like using it with the SRS mainly because of that reason, because Valhace is so good for it. But with the Solar Guard, since their range and actually benefit from the insane cast speed, I mean, they were casting so fast you can barely see their animation. It was like they're stuttering and they were just flying out fireballs from them. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And they also get more kills. And in your case, you're killing minions with your SRS, and the souls are getting spread out as well. I'm not sure how it's interacting, but the Solar Guard was really cool with it. If you entered a boss room with a high stacked Soul Eater on even one of the specters, the boss would just melt immediately.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah, for me it was kind of tough because like most of the time, even if one of my specters had it, then I also had the SRS, and that specter was really popping off, so it's hard for the other specter to get the proc, and yeah, it was kind of like a little bit all over the place in that setup. Yee.
Have either of you tried the Skelly Mages thing? Like, how do those fall into the mix? Are they any good, or
Which ones?
the Skelly Mages now?
Oh, I got a guide for that.
Oh,
I'll throw that on later, but like is it
The video is not
worth or-
updated, I think. No, I don't know. I'll have to check. They're good. They're good, but no.
No?
I don't like them. I mean, they need to be contemplate. They need to get help from specters. SRS don't need help from specters, but the skeleton mages are really, really strong. It's just about getting used to the whole play style of it. But there's actually a handful of different ways. My problem with this mage skeleton is the design, where you can have, what's the name of the jewel? Dead Reckoning or something.
Right.
That gives you 5 of your skeletons is now mages. So basically, the way the mechanic works and how it's designed in the game is that you have, let's say you have a total amount of 10 skeletons that you can summon. The game doesn't tell you that you're limited on 10. It's basically when you've summoned them, it runs a check. If you have 10, then the next one you summon will be the 11th skeleton replacing the old one. So when you then have 2 Dead Reckoning jewels saying that your 10 skeletons that you can have on the field will be mage skeletons. So when you summon the 11th skeleton, it doesn't run the check saying that, oh, you can only have 10, so this one should be a mage one replacing the oldest mage one. It summons a melee one because it doesn't tell you that you're limited. So it summons a melee skeleton, and then it says, oh shit, you can only have 10 skeletons on the field. So we're going to kill your first mage skeleton, and now you're going to be effectively on 9 mage skeletons, despite having 2 Dead Reckoning jewels, which is completely retarded.
Oh wow, yeah. That's really odd. Well, but do you like outside of boss fights, do you ever have to put yourself in a situation where you summon so many? Like from what I was seeing, they kind of acted like totems. People would just cast like 2 of them, and they would just blow the screen up.
But that's the thing. The duration is going to be longer than you clearing the map. So when you come to the point where you're gonna get the 11th one, because far back in the map your first one is still alive, that new summon will then be a melee skeleton. So the sweet spots for it is going to be 4, 9, and 14, which is completely stupid. I don't understand why it's designed that way.
Yeah, that's really well. I think it's just like code mumbo jumbo, right?
Yeah, summoners and codes, huh?
God damn it.
Yes, I agree.
Yes. Infinite knowledge.
So, in the case of like us saying mages are a bit meh and golems are a bit meh, so what are the 2 things you'd recommend to non-summon bros like me and CuteDog be Solar Guardians, and then like SRS?
SRS first, I guess. It's
Is
more
that like
options.
the gateway drug? Like SRS is the gateway drug into other summoner builds or something?
I would say so.
Yeah, no, pretty much. I mean, it's more options. As Spectre builds are, like we told CuteDog earlier, it's the currency input for a Spectre build is so cheap because you're having so many unique items. It's already limiting the amount of currency you have to spend for the build to be min-maxed. So you don't even need plus levels to Spectres because they don't scale with it. So giving a corrupted +1 is not even worth bothering, to be honest. Which
But-
puts you in a... Sorry?
But about that though, like wouldn't you say if you're gonna play a build, you want to push it to like its limits, right? You want to see like how big your character can grow. So
Mhm.
like if I want to spend the muns, like, let's say like today I make a I level up a Spectre character or any kind of summoner, and I want to put the muns into it. Will it feel much better than, for example, like your budget build guide on YouTube, or will it not be noticeable enough if I'm dropping like 50 to 100 exalts?
You will never see the difference. We're
Damn.
talking, +1 gem levels. I guess you're landing
really?
on. Yeah,
I don't know if I agree with that. Like you can, especially if you can get if you're playing SRS with a Baron, like getting that strength and everything. I mean, we're not talking about 150 exalted orbs that you're going to be spending on strength, but like you feel a pretty big difference with the Baron helmet for me, at least.
I mean, if you're mid-maxing, the Spectres don't scale from anything but the area, and you don't give them Baron with the Solar
Jewels.
Guards.
15% from the jewels.
There we go. There we go. Okay, so you want to spend
50%.
currency, you get jewels, but
Saboteur style.
there's a difference between putting in, maybe 20 exalteds and 100 exalted going for the +1 corruptions and whatnot. Because +1 corruption gives your Spectres, let's see, say you have a 21 Spectre and you get 22 from the extra level from corruption. That gives you 2% more damage. And the general number on SRS by getting another level is approximately 10 to 12% more damage because of baseline damage, accuracy, and, well, survival, which most people ignore. But for Spectres, it's 2%. 2%. And they gain more by you spending currency, buying a tier 16 map, and then summon the Spectres from that map to make sure they're higher leveled at all maps you're doing. You benefit more from that. So I guess the other numbers would be, maybe a handful of percent extra from the other support gems, but in the end, you're gonna land on 10% more damage with all the other support gems included for a +1 corruption. I mean, I'd rather put that currency, like Bryce said, and getting 15, 16% minion damage duels with defensive stats. That would be much more beneficial for you. But then again, mini damage life duels are kind of expensive.
So
Really expensive.
are you kind of saying then, like, really the min-max is more just for, like, your personal defense more than the Spectres themselves then?
Oh, absolutely.
So is it kind of a case of it's like, is it more just of a hardcore playstyle then? In the fact that if you want to drop to like the 100 exalts, then you're just making your character less shit. Not really boosting your clear speed. Do you agree with that, Rise, or not really?
No. I mean, well, kind of. I do agree with it, but I feel like, especially if you go for, like, if you're soft-coring it up, you can go for, like, some, I don't know, some, like, CI 5k energy shield, pick up 11 jewels on the skill tree type of something, and then maybe that way you can do something. I don't
Then
know.
it will be noticeable, sure.
Yeah.
But,
That's like an
yeah.
extreme example, but I mean, I think that's the sort of stuff that we're talking about, where you really go beyond what's reasonable just to get damage,
Yeah, but then again, like if you're running Rampage, which probably would be the only step I'd take for softcore to make it better, with Hibiscus Leash or something like that, you're still landing in a situation where your Solar Guards, even without Solar, is pretty much 2 or 3 shotting, which is less than half a second to kill packs with the Solar Guard. So getting more damage would only be noticeable in a proper way in really high maps with life rolls and or bosses. And I just don't feel if that's worth the investment.
What if you use the new dexterity helmet though? And then
That
you
one's
gain
great.
so much attack and cast speed, it's crazy. You get like 2% for 50 dex. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Is it like 2% for 50 dex? It's something
I'm checking it right
completely
now.
ridiculous. I can't even remember the name of
so-
that.
The
Oh, and they
only
get movement
use I
speed.
could see for that helm...
Yeah, it's movement speed too.
I'll link it on Skype.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like, I mean, if you have all the damage in the world and all you need to worry about, I guess it's like a worthwhile investment, but it's so awful. Like, it
But
is
it
so
was like
bad.
initiation to help Null's intonation builds work better.
Yeah.
I made the an animate weapon build out of it just to try it out, which did between 7 and 8 million DPS, almost 9 with the rampage stacks up properly. And the problem with it was that you had to kill them, obviously. So your enemy weapon would just clear everything. They would be down to like no HP in a millisecond, and then you have to call them or hit them with something. And they died. The problem was that if there was another pack of enemies, ranged for worst case, behind this pack, once you've called them, your minions had to move up to those guys, hit them, and then you had to attack them again. Then they have to move to the next pack, hit them before you can kill them. So it was just really clunky to clear with it.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I wasn't trashing softcore, by the way. I said just super softcore setup. That's all I'm saying. I don't know what I said actually. I take it back. Don't hang. No.
Since you mention it, and also Cute, you can be quite helpful for this. How do you guys feel about the whole like rampage bugged mechanics of swapping items in and out and weapon swapping to get rampage stacks? Like, is it something you guys kind of like doing? I hate the whole inventory management personally.
I do it to give like stream a better viewing experience sometimes, because like when you already have Headhunter, if you're going down like a canyon, it's already fast. And then seeing the stun spears and like the chain detonate deads, it's like it just looks cool, right?
It looks cool as hell.
But there's times when I forget to put my Headhunter on when I have the Biscos, because I just like keep going because it feels exactly the same. And then like I was like, oh, I didn't even use my Headhunter there. Okay, that sucks. And there's times when I misclick, and so now I have just a Headhunter on my cursor, and I'm like afraid I'm gonna drop it somewhere. And so it's cool. I definitely don't think it's intended, because until 3.0, if you removed your Headhunter, you would maintain all your buffs, right? Shroudwalker, you'd have to go back to town to cancel that, right? To remove everything. In 3.0, if you remove your Headhunter and put it back on, you lose all of your buffs. And I think I would consider those player buffs, right? Like a stolen mod. And since like Rampage is a player mod, and it's like affecting your character, I think if you remove a Biscos, I think if you ask somebody like what makes sense, they'd say that it should not persist. And so I'm sure they're just gonna let it slide, just like they let the Headhunter buff thing slide. Obviously a different scenario, but I don't think it's
there was
intended.
some sort of explanation from Carve, because I thought that it was a bug, but Carve had some sort of conversation with Mark where it's not intended, but it's a side effect that they like won't be fixing or something like that, where they might in the future, but it's not considered a bug. It's considered a side effect of Rampage. Therefore,
Clever use of game mechanics.
yeah, I guess it's all right. I don't know. It's
not
kind
that
of
big a
weird
deal.
one.
It's
Yeah.
you have to clear, you have to clear fast enough, and then, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
swapping
Rampage is
annoying.
really hard to keep up. Yeah.
I mean,
Especially with the map
breaches,
density.
it's nuts though. Like it's really
Yeah.
good for cleaning up breaches. So like what I've been doing is I just use the Bisco's belt. I can't be bothered to swap it in and out, so I just leave it on with inspired lightnings, and I kind of get like a mini Headhunter and a Rampage. So it sort of works. But...
I mean, the Rampage buff is really, really good. I think it's underrated. But I mean, that bug or whatever you want to call it, side effect, sorry. Side effects.
There you go.
The side effect has been abused since after the Rampage League, to be honest. But and I don't think it's the right way to do it, in my opinion. But then again, I really hate changing out items every time I lose a stack. I'd just be annoyed with it. So every time I promote a guide or something, or I talk about Rampage, it's Bisco's Leash all the way through. Use this if you can, because you're going to get Rampage. It doesn't matter if you have 100 stacks or 200 stacks, it's still going to be a buff. Enjoy it. I really hate weapon swapping.
I love the weapon swapping, to be honest. I used to hate it so much, and now it's like it adds even more. Like you already have to do so many things with a summoner, especially now with like if you're using Wickerman, and because you're like if you're casting SRS and you're positioning yourself to have SRS somewhere. You're having like to use Desecrate every now and then. You have Flesh Offering at the same time. You have to target things with your cursor. So like you're targeting things that are over here with your cursor so that your Wickermen are going to run there. But you've got like mobs behind you, so you have to position yourself so that now your specters are attacking those mobs and then not the mobs up there. And you're like having to keep up all these things. And in the middle of that, you're also like weapon swapping the whole way through. I don't know. I really like it. I don't like it on anything but summoners, maybe because it takes like 10 minutes to kill a single mob, so you rarely bug it out with a dancing dervish. But yeah, it's pretty. I recommend you try it out. I even have it on like a good key binding now. Replace one of my good key bindings with just weapon swapping.
No.
Could you actually this? If you were doing Tremor Rod shenanigans on a miner, if you dropped the mines, then weapon swapped in between detonates, would that destroy the mines?
Yes.
Oh.
Well, no, on a tremor rod?
Yeah.
No. Well, it depends. Do you have the mine in your tremor rod?
Well, yeah, because that's where you get the 7-link from.
Well, then yeah, it would
Yeah.
destroy the mines.
I like,
Because like you
yeah.
can't it would have to you would have to already trigger it and like have an effect. So for instance, if you have your fire trap in your main setup and you throw the fire trap and it's not triggered and you weapon swap, it deletes the fire trap. But if you throw a fire trap, it detonates, you weapon swap, that the burning ground is still there.
Yeah.
Because the mine already went poof, but the effect stays there.
Maybe there's like some shenanigans people can do with like if staffs ever become a thing again, but that like requires serious like movement skill meta changes that you just constantly like swap between packs between the dancing dervish or something.
How about Flame Dash without charges?
If they gave like Blink Arrow like 2 or 3 charges or it scaled with attack speed or something, it'd be so fucking Craigasm. You're gonna get me on like a rant about stuff. out of interest, because like I think most people would rather nerf things, but I know CuteDog, you personally, you don't really like it that much when GG takes the power away from players. How would you feel if they brought Whirling Blades and Shield Charge down, and they didn't like change anything? If they just like no.
I'm actually fine with it now because after playing Wander and Queen of the Forest running around, oh man, running around is like the king of everything.
It's so much better.
You don't run into things, you don't get snagged, you don't get these weird desync things. It's so perfectly smooth.
It's so good.
Oh my god, it's
That's why I'm telling you, play Summoner, dude. Because with a Summoner, it's like, why aren't you using Shield Charge? Well, I have a staff, motherfucker. Like, what do you mean? And you just have to run around the whole way. It's the best. You have the perfect excuse.
I mean, you have to go decently fast. That's the caveat. Like, I would only run if I have a Queen of the Forest and like 300% move speed. Then it's like, then I could lose a little bit less than shield charge. But it's so like picking up items is amazing. You can contour around rocks and all these things. It's positioning is so great. You don't need to use like number lock trick to always get the max shield charge distance. It's so I think, but then again, you have to remember that Chris himself has said like, we don't want to change the movement skills because we like lose players if we do that, right? So I think it's safe to say that it probably won't be coming. But then I said the same thing about ES, so I don't know. I'm retarded.
Wow, that ended abruptly. I just gotta mention this. Like, I'm watching the thing, and Tarke's using 2 different cameras, and every now and then it's like a fucking light show over there, and his thing is changing, and it's like he's having some sort of exorcism in his apartment. And then I look over at the stream, and it's just nothing going on. But I'm sitting here like, what is going on in there? What about you guys? Yeah, I guess you had to be there.
I remember Ziz got really, when Ziz was on, he kept freaking out about that because I was looking like really red in the face or something in the other one. But yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at it.
You do look at it a lot different.
Yeah, the red face. It looked like the rice. You got an emote, right? The tomato face.
It's okay. So like, what happens is it's a really cheap, really old webcam, and I couldn't be bothered to buy 2 good webcams because. For people in chat who don't know, if you have OBS open, it uses your main cam, and then you can't use the same cam for Skype or something. So I'm using some old, like, 2001 webcam, like, carved out of an old Nokia or some shit. And then it's at a weird angle, so it's on the wrong side of my light kit and everything. So it's just, like, super scuffed. It's basically, like, if Ice Poseidon made webcams, this would be the result kind of thing. But yeah. Okay, so
your saving grace is the Baeclast wallpaper. You could probably bring that thing up and have everyone look at you.
But so one final thing on summoners before me and CuteDog can actually like know what we're talking about again. If you could make like any improvements, not necessarily to make summoners better, because there are some things you use to make them better, but to make them more appealing, to non-summoner players rising Ghazzy, like what would you do to them?
Buff them by 6%. Put
let's
it in
let's
the
give
patch
it.
notes, say we have buffed minions, and then everybody's gonna be like, "Oh my god!" It's like literally Glacial Cascade memes. It's like nothing has fucking changed about mines, or like Glacial Cascade was dealing damage before. Literally nothing has changed. They make like mines arm fucking 0.13% of a second faster now. Everybody's like, mines are the best thing ever now, dude. It's so fun to play mines. It's like, it's the same thing. Like, you can do the same thing. So I'm sure if they put it in the patch notes where they're like, you can play summoners now, like they do 0.23% more DPS, everybody's gonna lose their shit and play a summoner. So I think that's the best fix.
Um,
Sorry, Cassie.
it's hard to beat that. I was thinking more like GGG could do the same thing with all minions that they've done with zombies. Let's take all issues that needs to be dealt with, and everyone's bitching about it, and by quieting down this loud vocal part of the gaming community in PoE by saying zombies now deal more damage. They've done more patches for damages to zombies over the last couple of patches than they've done since the release of the game. And suddenly people playing zombie builds. My zombie build guys have never been more active. And I don't understand. They're still shit. I mean, I'm sorry. The build guide's there, but they're shit. It's only if you really want to play zombies. I think that the only way to fix them is to tell GGG that to give them a suggestion that this would be good for everything but summoners, but in some way it's actually going to help some summoners as well. That's the only way to make them fix it. So I'm thinking UI interface, like more action skill bars, or moving your debuffs somewhere else. And I know you're really, you have a lot of feelings about this, right? I know. So you can move the debuffs, or well, not move them, but they should move them at least, and give us a timer on buffs offerings. And if you pitch that suggestion to them, it might actually happen. That would be the best thing, in my opinion.
It's kind of weird to me that so many. I feel like people generally are happy with summoners once they try it, but a lot of people are like, well, once they try SRS, it's literally that. Like once you try SRS, it's like, oh, okay, this is like actually fucking really fun, and especially now with Wickerman, like this is actually super nice. But then you start delving into it. It's like the drugs, like you said earlier. Start getting deeper and deeper, and it's like you try out zombies, you try golems, it's like, what is that? Maybe I'll try a different specter. It like dies instantly. It's like, you log out. It's terrible too. But if you just stick to SRS, shit's good.
I think something else to mention, and I know there's probably a lot of people in the chat and watching this on YouTube later that is unaware of how Summoners works. I think that a big misconception when people are trying out Summoners and they see that the SRS has a fire tag, and they're playing the build and like, oh, this is bad. Why are they doing so low DPS? Not that you need to invest anything to them anyways, but people actually go for spell damage and fire damage and stuff, and thinking that works for them. Summoners is in my opinion, the most complex genre of builds in PoE. By far, because if you take all the logics of how the game works, all the mechanics of what scales things and what doesn't scale them, and then when you start playing a summoner, you can just take all that knowledge and just throw that away, because this is a whole new game when you're playing summoners. Everything that scales with them works completely differently.
Yep, I definitely agree. And like also, oh yeah, another misconception is that it's like you never do anything. It's like, I like to play the game, like the minions do everything. No, you do so much more with a proper summoner build.
Yeah.
Like you don't have enough key bindings ever. Like on any summoner build you can pick, you never have enough key bindings. So like I feel a lot of people are like, yeah, I don't want to, because it does everything for me. No, you do way more than you can with anything else in the entire game.
Yeah,
It's
never
like
other
a
ability.
20-click game.
Exactly, and everything else is movement ability and one attack stuff. Maybe a curse in it if you're really into that clunky play style of having 3 different abilities. Then you have that. Otherwise, it's crazy. But they did talk. Actually, I did talk to Rory about that as well. More skill bars, and it's off the table since 2.5 years back.
You're gonna have WoW style weapon like bar swapping or something. That always looked really skillful, but it was really annoying.
I could never do that in WoW, the whole skill bar thing. That used to just kill me. I just like add more bars everywhere else on the screen, just so I didn't have to do that shit. Doesn't
I remember-
Xbox kind of ruin that though? Because
No.
how are they gonna get more fucking? They already have to
Maybe like
weapon
click
swap
both
just
at
to
the
get
same
two.
time or something.
Yeah,
You can
Yeah,
have
so-
like combinations of keys.
No, they have a second controller. They pick up the second controller and that's got different binds on it. Oh, that'd be lit. Yeah, just like,
I mean, they can like really do whatever they want because like an Xbox guy is going to take approximately 6 years to send in feedback anyway, so it's not like it's a big deal.
But the Xbox is actually one thing which, because before we had the Xbox launch, I was thinking maybe they'll finally change the buffs and debuff system. Because they didn't rework it for Xbox, I don't think we're ever going to get it. Because that was the perfect time for them to revisit the way that buffs and debuffs played on the UI, is they have to make a whole new custom UI for the separate console. And they didn't fucking do it. So they probably won't do it anytime soon.
Can we talk about the buff thing real quick? I was
Go
waiting
for it,
for
yeah.
this. The Overseer mod in Mercury Trade. Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about?
Explain it to
If,
those who are uneducated.
Okay, maybe you can bring up the if you go to the Mercury Trade GitHub, you can bring up it has a screenshot of what Overseer is, and you can put that in the middle window for people. Basically, if you're familiar with Weakauras from World of Warcraft, Mercury Trade, the core functionality now has built-in Weakauras that you can customize for your flasks, for any hotkey you can think of. It has different colors, it has different timers, layouts, whatever you want. And I emailed Bex about this because right when it came out, the new version, I was like, wait a minute, this is bundled into Mercury Trade. And as everyone knows, like there's always questions about add-ons, right? Like you guys all stream, people will be like, hey, is that okay to use? Like, is trade macro okay to use? Is this okay to use? And like Ziggy has, when Mercury Trade first came out, Ziggy was like, oh yeah, we've talked, it's completely fine. And now this comes out and it's bundled into a perfectly okay to use add-on. And so I emailed Bex and I was like, look, the Mercury Trade we know is allowed, but if you take a look at the GitHub, they're promoting Overseer. And is this allowed? And so Bex said, we're okay with the trading portion of this feature, Mercury Trade, that is, but we're still in the process of discussing the newer portion that affects tracking your buffs. At this point, it's looking pretty likely that it won't be allowed, but I'm not able to give the final word on it just yet. So right now we don't know if we can use it. We don't know if it's okay to use until they say no. We don't know if it's not okay to use until they say yes. But it is an amazing functionality for...
When was this? When did you get the email?
I got this email August 27th.
Oh, we got another 2 years before they make up
So
their
that-
minds. It's okay.
Yeah. So it's you're not gonna get banned for using it. It's built into Mercury Trade. Like for them to track you using it, they'd have to track you using Mercury Trade. And you can't get banned for using Mercury Trade. So it's it's something. It does add so much quality of life to the game, though.
Yeah. Oh, that's huge. Yeah, but it's still, as Yoji mentioned in the chat, it still wouldn't help Flesh Offering because it's based off of corpses, so we have no way of tracking it.
Yeah.
But
It's
then
bad.
again, I mean, it's something I'm getting really annoyed with when we're talking about Mercury Trade and whatnot. I'm really annoyed with the amount of third program stuff that we need to use, external programs to make Path of Exile a playable game. We have PoE.trade, we have PoEDB for the summoners, and we have the Mercury Trade, and we have the Path of Building. We have so many external programs and sites that we need to use.
Yep.
You can play the game.
Acquisition, if you want to actually be trading
Yeah, exactly. If you
without
don't have
spending money
premium
on the
tabs.
game.
Love
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, there's so many in there. I mean, some of them are allowed, most of them are allowed actually, and some might not be allowed. But then again, it's promoting more and more third programs, and than anything, and it's really annoying. I mean, if they're gonna allow this, then might as well allow us to have add-ons created for the game and change the freaking UI so we actually can play this game properly.
Yeah, I think at some point they were really planning to allow add-ons, but that they were just okay, people are gonna fuck with this to the extent that we can't control, and
Yeah.
yeah.
They have a
Because
small team. They have to manage. They don't want to deal with a billion reports, right? You
Yeah.
take the Ziz 1 2 3 4 5 in chat, and Chris literally said we got dozens of reports that we had to filter through, And so you make like if you make one thing okay to automate or like some add-on or some UI, then like it just keeps going and going. And I think they don't
People,
want to deal with that.
it's so weird. People really go out of their ways too. I remember I was having a conversation with Ziz. Uh, like he was in my chat, and the day before we had like a joking conversation about like buying out like some item so that we could raise the price of it, right? Which I don't think is, by the way, I don't think it's against the terms of service. So like even that, but like he messaged me that because I showed it on stream because we were like kidding about something. So I'm like, hey, check this out. This is trying to like fucking raise the prices. And people like somehow went out of their ways to like send emails to GGG and everything about this, and he got messages too about it. And you know there weren't even that many people on the stream, so people were like really went out of their way to report this. So I can imagine that this could go pretty far, and they would have to deal with quite a bit of shit.
It's crazy how heated people get. I had a similar-ish story like 2 or 3 leagues back. Ziz wanted to buy an item of someone who didn't like me, so he said to Ziz, Tarke said I shouldn't give you this item because you're a cunt or something. And for the next like 2 days, my chat was being filled with like Ziz viewers calling me out, and I was like, what the fuck's happened, yo? And it's just some random dude like just sent one whisper on stream. Like it's crazy like how like built up stuff gets. Because it's just like, oh, I haven't got anything else to do. Wait, this streamer's doing something bad? Destroy, report, must delete from existence. It's a big reason why I've like never bothered using Mercury Trade. I like the amount of times people say that I'm some like elite hacker because I have flaws on my fucking mouse. Like I swear to every time it's like, it's a mouse. It has buttons. I can't imagine the aggro I'd have using like this fucking like Iron Man HUD overlay shit, you know?
No, I think that when it comes to trading, it's always been an issue. I mean, but you know, I think the last response about trading improvements and whatnot has been because a lot of people have been complaining about the price fixers, obviously, because it hurts the continued growth of the game when new players coming in and then they get completely screwed over. You know, 5 Necropolis for a mirror, and you know that whole story. And you know, it's always going to be an issue, no matter how you do it. But you know, they want to work with it, but they're saying that trading is too easy, and then they're still allowing us to have these programs like Mercury. We have acquisition. We have all of these programs to use for trading, and you know, it just adds to the problems, in my opinion. And it's never getting fixed. And you know, one of the topics we're going into is the essences, but the same thing there. It's just always horrible to trade in this game, and they need to fix it. And no matter what solution you might come up with, there's always a problem. I mean, auction us.
No.
I know.
We're not going there.
No, I'm just gonna
Jesus.
say, essence trading was the final like nail in the coffin for my golem build. Because I had everything like min max. I had all like the 21 gems. I had my dicked out in power. And I was like, okay, I need to get some really juicy unset rings. So let's go on PoE Trade and let's whisper essence. No, offline. How many have you got? 1. And you're like, fuck. So like in 10 minutes you've got 1 essence, and you're like, boom. Okay. And it's like, at least when you're doing it with like the big expensive essences, like to get the helm enchant or the glove enchant, it feels like impactful because you're spending like 20-30 C a pop, so it's like a gamble. But when you're spending like an hour to get 5 like 2C Essence of Fear, it's fuck, yo, like
Trading is fine.
I swear to God,
No.
like the most depressed I've been in this game in a long time was me trying to craft 1 fucking unset ring. Holy shit, yo. Like, my viewers thought I was clinically depressed. People were tuning in like, are you okay, man? It's like, no, it's fine. He's been trading for 2 seconds. But I think the thing is, like, we're in this awkward thing with PoE. Like, we have these really amazing third-party support, and it's great when it's up. But at the start of this league, we had so many issues with stuff being down. Like, we couldn't, like, see ladder stats and stuff. We couldn't... I know, like, Raiz, it's fine. It's fine. He's gone. Positive mental
he had a negative mental attitude. His brain was very not glowy. But if you're staying here, it means you have a positive mental attitude.
Yeah. So trading, it's all fine, boys.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. See,
I think...
you know, I think it says something when it's the SSF player who can't handle the trading conversation. It's the SSF player who leaves. you know.
I mean, I get more triggered out people complaining all day about trading than the actual like issues with the trades. Like I don't like trading, right? I think a lot of this game is like you try to minimize the things that you don't like doing in the game so you can like do the things that you enjoy. And I don't like trading, but I'll do it. I will like flip a couple currencies here and there in the beginning of the league, and you know it's necessary to play the way I want to play. But when you see all these Reddit posts about like look at this price fixer, and then like you know in stream people ask you what would you do to change price fixing, and like is it worth it? I think I'm getting price fixed. It's like, look guys, when you get to the trade screen and you see an item or a currency in there, if that's worth it to you, click the accept. If it's not worth it to you, don't click the accept. And that's like it. You know, there's so few things in this game that have actual value besides like, you know, the value in your own mind, right? There's like currency ratios that you can get from the vendor, and that's close to it, right? And so that stuff like really triggers me. When people are like this, I see 2 listed at 1.5 exalts, but then there's 2 that are less rolls for 1.8, and you're just like, come on, man, just come on.
I think the best to follow up on that comment is when people are asking for price checks. I've never understood why people ask for price checks. I can understand it to some degree, but you know, whatever I say or whatever you guys say to someone asking about a price checking, it doesn't matter what I think it's worth. It's like you said, it matters what he thinks it's worth, and it matters what the market tells it's worth as well. So I mean, looking at the Scourge Claw, I think the Scourge Claw is worth about 20 chaos in softcore. And then I checked the market. I was like, oh, I got 20 chaos. And then I checked the market. It's like, okay, it's 1 chaos. Okay, that's nice.
Yeah.
And then the other guy some guy asked me about Victoria's influence corrupted with +1 bad colors, and I was like, yeah, I mean, +1 doesn't do that much to ours. 2-3 times the value of a 6 socket would probably be enough, because you have to put so much currency in linking some of them for, you know, power and light and whatever, as well as, you know, getting the colors. So that would be my value of it. But then you got an offer of 300C. I mean, it always depends on what the item is worth it to the buyer, and so price checking is completely useless. It just gives you another person's opinion on it, which has nothing to do with the trade you're about to do.
Yeah. Especially with unique items too. It's like when it's not even like a corruption or something that's not available. It's like, hey, I have this unique item with these rolls, like a Ventor's, right? It's like, what is it worth? And it's just like, come on, just check period trade, please.
Yeah.
One thing they say, someone on Reddit recently posted, because Chris had an interview or something recently, and he said that RF was like the hardest thing to balance, but apparently somewhere in that thing he said we're having trade improvements soon, TM. What do you think it could be, if anything? And then we'll move on to racing when Raiz gets back.
Cross instance, like they promised us. Like if you're in lab, you're near a stash, you can trade with someone that's in their hideout, or like anywhere, right? If they have the items on hand, I think that'd be like in my mind, right? In my mind's eye, I can't see that as some huge hurdle, right? Like that you have the item in your inventory, he has the currency or other item in his inventory, and then you hit the trade, and then you can place that item in a interface, right? Like that's how the guild stash works right now. And you can use the guild stash tab as a trade window, pseudo trade window.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And like before we move out from the trading topic, like you said that you
let's stay. What do you mean move on?
Oh, but we would like you to stay in the podcast.
Minutes. Let's go.
Now, it's about what you said earlier, CuteDog, about the whole, you know, you'd rather play the game rather than waste time trading if you don't have to and whatnot. I agree with that. Till you play a summoner build that, you know, requires so many unique items that you have to trade to get them unless you already found them. Like a Spectre build, you want to have Bones of War, you want to have Miss Mortis, Unending Hunger. I mean, the list goes on. And some of the other builds will also want to have certain uniques as well, generally for summoners in general. And that's going to be forcing you into trading, even if you don't like it. And then you can start playing the game and do that. But you have to trade for certain builds to work, especially if you're doing niche builds and whatnot, like Tarke's Quill Rain build with a Thief's Torment and everything. That's just a long list of uniques that you're now forced to trade. And the higher the price of the item, the easier it is to trade because more people just want to get that out and get the currency. As soon as you want those one Alk, one Chaos trades, it's gonna take you hours to get.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, for the sake of keeping Rise to the rest of the podcast, let's move on to racing. So we have like we have the best caster in the world, and then we have a washed up racer here. So to talk about racing real quick, how's it been from the point of view of someone who's completely new to casting for you, CuteDog?
I think it's more of just playing the game a lot. Like I don't understand the macro concepts. Like when Nugi, when I've casted Nugi when he was like the technical person, and when he's talking about, hey, in a few levels he'll be able to use this with this, and he's looking for these colors, right? I'm just like, I don't know why he's doing that. Like, and I'm really bad at racing, so it's like it's lost on me. But I think it's important that like as long as you know the micro parts, right? Like I know the numbers on the skill gems, right? I know like what can be linked with what. I know tags and like hopefully I know like the zones and stuff, so I can like talk on the minute things that are happening on the screen, because I would say especially with like the noob races, not the noob races, but the non tenured racers, right? Because I would identify closer on the spectrum to a completely new racer that has absolutely zero racing experience than like Raiz or like Gucci or them at all. So like when you can identify with that, it becomes very easy to talk about because you've been through all those like mistakes and those like noob situations, and like the play by play. So it's been really fun. I'm learning a lot for sure. Like just even watching Sunder like 3, 4, 5 races over and over and over, you're like, oh, okay, I get it. It's cool. And so yeah, it's been fun.
How so we had the little drama before Baeclast, getting a replacement. So Rise, being the expert scheduler that he is, didn't realize that Baeclast was today. So he said that he was gonna cast something. How crazy, like how hard is it organizing that stuff? I don't know if any of you guys have been involved in it. Is it
it's like pretty hellish for Havoc because he doesn't have a lot of time. It's like pretty hellish for Noogie because you have to just talk to so many people. Like people come and people are interested, I think, overall, but it's just difficult to fix it around everybody's schedule. So yeah, and the technical side of things, I don't even have any idea. Like Havoc has been setting that stuff up for hours. He showed his OBS at some point. It was like hundreds of different scenes with like hundreds of different things in there, and it's like he's asking me like, my stuff is lagging. I don't know why. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know why? You have like 40,000 streams open. It's like, I think it's all the people who are also streaming but not participating in the race. Yeah, yes, I'm like, it's all these people. It's just insane. But yeah, he's been managing that like a god too, and yeah.
Yeah, no, I've been really impressed. Like, I struggle enough as it is just getting you guys together, and you guys are fucking useless, by the way. But anyway. So, like, they do what, like 2 events every other day or every day or something? It's crazy.
I think they're going for two every day on the weekends, so 4 total. And it is amazing because like Havoc needs to he doesn't even use like a launch pad or anything or like a second keyboard to do the scenes. He's clicking on his scenes. And that's horrible if you guys know, right? Yeah. So he needs every permutation of every 2 combination and every 3 combination after that. So like it's a lot of scenes, and like getting the people together, getting people to like know how it works, the times, and like getting them into Discord afterwards. All of it is a lot of work, especially when you don't have that much time. Luckily, with the production value has been pretty good. The guy that makes the player cards, the scenes, the overlays, he's so quick with it. He's the same guy that makes like my emotes, like my scenes and stuff. So he's been great. I don't think it would like look I wouldn't look half as good without him doing the like the player cards and things like that. The guy's
talking about Nate Vation, right?
Yeah, Nate Vation.
He's a fucking god. He does our stuff.
He does our Baeclast stuff too. Yeah.
He's so good.
He's helping me with an intro video and a few scenes actually right now.
Yeah, he does all my stuff as well. He's amazing.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Big shout out to him. Contact him for commissions and stuff.
No, he really is absolute beast. But one thing I was quite curious to get you guys' opinion on. So I had a really heated like argument with my friend actually like a day or 2 ago. So he's really big into racing, and for anyone who doesn't know, we're meant to be in this new expansion in December, this league should end in sort of like November, so we're expecting this like weird fill time. And he's like, oh, we should hopefully we get like loads of race events going on. And I was like, I don't think GGG will do races, because wouldn't GGG doing race events now really fuck with like Havoc and Nuggies thing? Because then it draws attention. Or do you not think so?
GGG doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Honestly, they don't care about like these community things. If the only time when they care, it's basically when it like interrupts their sort of stuff. So that like the SSF events in the past, they'd be like, yeah, we're not gonna promote this because it fucks with our shit, and we don't want that. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess. And this is the same for racing. It's like, yeah, like I can just imagine them sitting there and being like, yeah, we'd promote this, but we won't because we want to hype racing up, so everybody's super hype when it finally comes in 6 years. It's like, yeah.
I mean, they stopped the Build of the Week project, and I started. I thought that was really sad that it did. So I actually started doing that myself, and then I contacted Bex and spoke to her about it. Since they're not continuing it, could you do this instead and promote that work? Because it's something the community has been wanting and been screaming for quite a while. And the response I got was, well, pretty much the same thing. It's like, no, we might be doing this in the near future, so no, we cannot promote it. And well, now it's back.
Yeah. No, I get that to a certain extent. Obviously, it's a business, but it's just so different to how other game developers interact with their like content creators. Honestly, like not that they're particularly bad. Like GGG is really good with, especially Bex herself. I mean, big shout out to Bex. Like if you need something, you message Bex. She gets back to you every time. She gets you everything. Like it's really, like it's like very very personal in a way, right? That you have that sort of connection with somebody that is a game developer, but then when it comes to their plans and what they're like assessing as to how something is going to look like in the future, they really don't care. So I think there's definitely going to be races, is basically what I'm saying. I think there's definitely going to be either 2-week races again, or a 1 month race, or a 1-2 week race, probably announced within the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think so as well.
That's what I'm thinking will happen. Do you how do you think it will affect the Havoc thing? Because I'm from the point of view that will probably be quite bad for them, because then it makes it even harder to organize and schedule stuff. Like so imagine they did like a big 2 week, right? If I'm assuming like you, Raiz, you'd be the kind of person who'd want to push pretty hard in the 2 week. Then if they're like, yo, do you mind stop racing for 5 hours or whatever to be part of this event, you'd probably say no. Or do you think that the community would keep going and like take time?
I'd say I would much rather support like the community events than anything. Okay. I think it's a huge movement. I think it draws in an insane amount of people. It really displays how interested the community is in it. It's opening a lot of eyes for a lot of people, especially people who haven't experienced racing. I mean, there's people who haven't played the game for a long time, but the last race season was 2 years ago or something at this point, and they haven't experienced any of these things. And to me, racing was always a form of like, it was kind of an integral part of the game. I always found it like this, like PvP failed in my opinion because it's not Path of Exile. Racing to me is still Path of Exile. Like you're still doing the same things you would be doing normally, except you're doing them faster, which you can utilize as knowledge in like a start of a new league, or when you're leveling a new character. You're still playing Path of Exile. You're still killing mobs, you're still finding items, you're still improving your character. While PvP was never that, which I always thought was one of the big reasons why it failed. So in a way, I think people can really appreciate racing as like a community event more than something that GGG just organizes, and brings people together too really well. Like I think it's been really a tight group of people. It's been like a tight community. Everybody's open to everybody. If anybody has any questions about any of the events, participating, commentating, whatever, you can shoot anybody a message from the organizers. You can go on the Discord. Yeah, it's really awesome.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge part of the community aspect, right? Like they host a race, you go in, you see some guy like going 3, 4, 5 zones ahead of you. You have no idea how he got there. And there's like thousands of other people there that you're probably not going to win. So if you're garbage, it's extremely prohibitive to like join a race, even if there's like rewards, right? It's like, if you get like if you're not in that like top percentage, you're just gonna get screwed. Whereas in this, like people can watch, and I think it's great that initially the first race was just like for pro players. It's like, oh, okay. But then now that it's like segmented, like, complete noobs, pro players, like people who like kind of know, like semi-pro, people can kind of watch that progression, and like when they hear like the commentators talk through it, they can learn a little bit, and they can watch exactly how the people are doing it. And even if you hate racing, it's still fun to watch. That display skills. Because once again, I've always said, like when I lost my Twink race to the three to Noogie and company, I was like, man, it's like if there's skill in the game, it's not from clearing the same map or killing Shaper 1,000 times. It's from racing, right? Because it's always so dynamic. It's always you're actually racing other people, and it's much more impactful than like trying to kill a boss with like some kind of AI.
Yeah, it's competitive. I mean, it's an endless skill gap because the other person is always going to be improving, and you're always going to be improving. So, in that way, yeah, it's very nice.
It's also like really exciting it's quite exciting for someone like me who's not a racer, but I'm like, oh, at some point I could maybe do some like casting or something. So like even for like the non-racery content creators, it's quite cool, like just getting everyone together and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's cool. Okay. So considering like we kind of think that we'll probably just get some races from GGG to fill the downtime between Harby and the next expansion, which may or may not have trade improvements. Again, like, how big of a scope do we think the next expansion is going to have then? And then we can just sort of like round up and finish off on any sort of off-topic things people have.
I think it's going to be big. I think it's going to be really big. I think people are going to be surprised by how big it is. Because
positive mental attitude.
Yeah, I feel like they're just pulling everything together that they've been working on, and it hasn't quite made it. It's kind of like a lot of developers work like that. If you look into like projects, especially with World of Warcraft, it was really easily displayed because they had all these things that they were working on for a long time, and then they were like, oh, we didn't quite manage to finish this. We didn't quite manage to finish that. Oh, this didn't make it in. That didn't make it in. But they would still keep the community informed. And if you check out some sort of like what didn't make it, a lot of these things make it in later in like a, already like well put together version. And I think this is what this expansion is going to be. All the changes to endgame that they were talking about, all the map layouts, like especially focusing on endgame, the freaking champion mobs or whatever, like I feel like all that stuff is going to be in there, and people are going to be surprised by how much it really is. Because like an early, like that was the thing that really got me with 3.0, that people were like, oh my god, it's so much content. And yeah, I mean, going from 4 acts to 6 acts is a lot of content for somebody who plays the game for 10 hours. But to people who play this game for even a day, it's like you get out of that and you're in maps now, and this has like almost no impact on maps outside of like the mob types, which I was very surprised that they added into maps. But if they change endgame, it's like Atlas of Worlds. It was a completely different game, kept you entertained for a really long time, and this could be the same thing.
Yeah, I agree with Rice. I think it's going to be really big. I think this expansion sorted the pre-game before the actual game starts. Like World of Warcraft, it's like either PvP or PvE mode, and you level up and then you're done, and then you never see the rest of the world in the game ever again. And that's pretty much PvE does. You level through the acts, you don't go back there unless you're playing a Spectre build, and then you go into the mapping, and that's your world now. That's where you're at. And I think that this expansion will be focusing on the end game content rather than the previous stuffs. And like you said as well, I completely agree that we can absolutely expect to see a lot of things that we want to have changed being implemented in a polished state for the next expansion. So I'm really more hyped about this coming expansion than I was for 3.0. Absolutely,
yeah, for sure.
Do we think there'll be a beta for it? Because that's the one thing that I'm a little bit... Because if they are planning some kind of beta, that's why I think it maybe can't be that big. Because it's a very small window, because they can't miss the December launch. Like, December's too important, because it's like the perfect peak time to get the player base. People are off work or off school or whatever. So it's not like a case of 3.0 where they can really afford to delay it. That's why I think it may not be that massive, because they have to hit that window.
Atlas of Worlds didn't have a beta, right?
don't.
I know
so.
there was
Remember?
alpha, but I don't think there was a beta. Only Act 4 and the Act 8 stuff had a beta, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think they're pretty confident in what they're doing in terms of endgame, honestly.
Mm.
So it might just because of that be okay without a beta.
Yeah.
And I mean, a
think
lot
for
of it is.
expansion,
We'll find out soon enough. I think a lot of this stuff is going to be available on the alpha. So I guess some people will find out, some people won't.
No.
I'd actually prefer beta more for like expansions. I trust them, right? Had an amazing time in Ascendancy, Atlas of Worlds, all that stuff. Just great, like a real expansion, like the core gameplay, the end game, which is what we all strive for. I'd much rather have beta for challenge leagues, just like 1 week maybe. Like after seeing Harbinger at the start, holy shit! Like there's no way it would have been that way at the start if there was even a several day alpha for some people, you know? So I trust them in the expansions, but I don't trust so much the challenge league sometimes. And maybe that's just me. Like I think Harbinger was like the worst when it started.
but
It was so bad.
I feel like they kind of. I think they're aware that the challenge leagues is gonna be like sucking. That's the thing. And it,
Well, like,
because
that mindset is so like
yeah, but I feel
You
like
know?
they would have just like given it to people, and then people would have been like, "Yeah, this kind of sucks," and they're like, "Yeah, we kind of don't have time to fix this because, it's not like I do." Like everybody's memeing around about the QA team and everything. I feel like they really played the game, and you could have played all this stuff. Well, not the Harbinger actually. Oh yeah, that's not true. On the alpha, you couldn't do that. I don't think. But like people play this, and I think a lot of people play this in the QA department, and they just don't have time to fix everything. That's why fixes are getting rolled out so fast, maybe in new leagues, because they just get there and then they're like, okay, let's fix this real quick. So I don't know if it wouldn't just be a case of, yeah, we know about this, but we just can't do it right now.
I think that the Q&A team has they have a lot of hours, obviously. Anyways, I mean they definitely have played the game, but what makes them question if they played the game or not is when weird shit gets implemented. Like the zombies is a perfect example, since we've been talking a lot about summoners. Why are they giving them damage? They can already kill Uber Siri. We don't need more damage. They need a long list of other fixes. But those type of changes makes us question if they played it or not.
It's a complicated thing, There's a difference between giving something more damage and then changing the way the AI works. Like it's I mean, I would imagine giving something 10% more damage takes 2 minutes, while changing the entirety of AI and like the code. It's like that probably is a pretty big effort.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is also an issue in a lot of the cases.
I think that's a really interesting idea though, CuteDog, because like that's one thing. I actually am quite enjoying Harby now, and I think we've had way worse leagues. I think people saying Harby's the worst league we've had really haven't played the game for that long.
Yeah, I mean, warbands, yeah. Essence, maybe.
Talisman, Prophecy.
Talisman.
People who enjoy Prophecy, like, I don't even know
Ooh,
what
Talisman. Oh yeah, Prophecy was like nothing.
Prophecy, that was... I took a big break in Prophecy. That was like the last big break I had, just I was like so burnt out. My health was also bad at the time, but like, whatever. But, like, the difference between week 1 and, like, week 3 Harby is so huge that even though they do rapidly fix it, for people who may be like new to the game or like haven't played PoE for a long time, you want it to be good for that first week, because that's when you have the most new players, and you have certain people who dropped off. There's a lot of people in my chat who often said like, oh yeah, I haven't actually played since week X, and I have to be like, oh well, that's before the changes came through. Actually come try it out now, because it is actually quite good, and then you can do some beachhead for a bit if you want to try that out, but the Harbies actually feel decent in maps and whatever.
But that's like the thing is, I think you're approaching it from your perspective of somebody who's played the game before, and even people who have played the game before but like played it a lot. I feel like that's not what the target of this expansion was. I feel like the
I'm not talking about the expansion. I'm talking purely about leagues.
Yeah. But the entire expansion is heavily tied into that, because the way it was marketed was, we go from 4x to 10x, like that was the big thing. And to a lot of players, like that doesn't mean anything because they're just sitting in maps. But all these other people, from their point of view, like especially these newer streamers, right? Like Lyric or Dance Gaming, whatever, they would see this and it would be crazy to them because they play a game for 6 hours and it's out of content and that's done. They move on to another game. Like even when Zeke was talking about how he was playing with Ziggy and he was like, I played for 4 hours and I didn't even know the time passed by. I'm like, 4 hours? You know, to him that's like an entire playthrough of a game. 4 hours on PoE? It's like, what? Like, what are you even talking about? So I think this was more heavily targeted towards all these people coming in that will now be playing PoE, but they won't be playing as much as, you know, other people. Maybe they'll play a couple days throughout the entirety of it. And in their case, by the time they experience the annoyance of a league like that, it's already, you know, it's already fixed, right? Because they're just playing so very little and there's so many of them. So I think maybe that's like why they were approaching it in this way. But obviously, from our perspective, yeah, it sucks.
I would sort of agree, but like my one caveat to that, and also I'm gonna back up my boy Moors here because Moors is like a big thing on this. Parendus had the exact same issue. The way that they scale a lot of these league things. So for example, Harby damage is scaled by levels. So you can be like level 2 and you encounter this in the races a lot, and you're like fighting lightning damage and stuff, and you can't even have lightning res at that level. So while it is true that, yeah, complete new players might not understand what makes a mechanic annoying, having a mechanic which just straight like gives you on the beach when you're completely fresh, that was a big issue for Parendus. A lot of people in Parendus were complaining about that like it was impossible for newer players to get through. So just having that like that little test period would be the difference of someone like Moors going, actually, this is a really bad thing to have. Because there was the issue of like Sapphire rings when they changed the levels of Murder, you couldn't actually equip the Sapphire ring at the right level. And that's just a case of it just needs a racer to go through it once and be like, oh, by the way, change this one item level, or maybe they shouldn't do that much damage this early on. And that's the kind of thing that is far more likely to be picked up by someone like Hellman or Moors or Uber or you, or like a racer, that you guys are the guys who have alpha, right? Like, I don't have alpha, so it's not like I'll be the one testing it. It'd be someone like you. And I think that would be so huge. You know?
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, I could be wrong about this. It's just, well, because you're saying a lot of people display that. I always kind of enjoyed the fact that new leagues are so kind of overtuned at the beach.
But we enjoyed Invasion though. Like, we're in the vast minority.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, that it's something where it is unreasonable probably. But they always stated that they want the game to be heavy, to be difficult, and they want the game to kill players. And like Chris Wilson would say things in the past, like if he could launch a league, he would launch a league where just nobody would ever make it to maps ever. And that's kind of maybe what they're going for. But they're probably also aware that it's not the best thing on the planet.
And then they nerfed Malachi on release.
Like,
yeah.
I think that's the awkward thing, because they're walking this very weird line where like they don't want to change too many things about the game, keep their core vision, and their core vision is this super rippy thing. But then we have the current clear speed meta, right? So it's kind of like you have this initial hurdle which is so big for new players, but it's like, oh, actually no, once you get past this act and equip this flask, it's fine. So to have this like completely like cutthroat mindset of everyone must die under level 20. Or like until they get their good gem at 31, like that 31, 38 is when like most builds start like kicking off. To have it being so grueling pre-38 to then have that sudden like paradigm shift, you can't, you know.
Yeah, but it's also I think like that's the game to people. Like a lot of people think that they kill Kitava and the game is over. They finished the game. And that's also, I think, why like the league has been difficult, and also why they chose not to nerf, either Kitava in Act 5 or Kitava in Act 10, and they're really freaking hard. And yeah, that's the start of the game. I mean, yeah, that's like the beginning of the game. So I kind of get that. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah. It's just there's definitely inconsistencies in the decisions that they've made in the past. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Well, before we wrap up, are there any other like side topics people want to bring up or mention or shout outs to anyone in particular?
What do you guys think about an auction house?
For currency and essences? Great.
No.
I know that was a troll. I know
No
that was a troll.
shit.
I know that was
Fuck.
troll. I know that was
I
troll.
debated myself.
I'm just gonna refer from not answering that.
Crap. Trading's really great, right? Oh.
Yep. Trading is fine.
Okay.
Totally.
Positive
Oh,
and
imagine if they
negative.
would implement that thing, actually. Now that we're on the trading subject, imagine if they would implement the thing that they were talking about with kind of what CuteDog stepped on, with like the fact that you can trade outside of instances. And in the past, they said that they will most likely implement trading in how trading is in like MMORPGs, where you have these like vendor shops and people can just click them, get the item, and then go away. I wonder if something like that would work with like what it is currently, so you could still trade normally, but then you could also like attend to these shops. And
There's actually a really big issue with that. I experienced it recently, and I think it's something they've mentioned on Coffee Talk as well. So you know if someone enters your hideout before you do, it's on their gateway.
Yeah.
If they then don't leave the zone, it's stuck on that gateway. So if we had like this bizarre like area, and it was like a bunch of Aussies went in there first, it would be stuck on Aussie gateway.
Didn't they change that?
No, like there are weird there are loads of like weird things with hideout based stuff, and I don't know, like I'm not like their tech dude. I don't work on their servers, but like there are weird things where like you can get stuck in weird instances, and then for example, like someone can log into a hideout, like could go into my hideout. I could log off if they never leave. They're always in that instance. So like recently, anyone who's watching my stream, when I was playing my Golem character, to kind of like trigger my friend a little bit, I was like casting Desecrate and popping in his hideout to make his floor ugly. While we were mapping, one of my viewers did Desecrate Minefield, and while we were going through the maps, he just like popped, and there was just like a solid red carpet across this entire hideout that we couldn't get rid of, because he would never leave the hideout. And it was like we would leave the map and like our latency would be crashed, like everything was screwed because there was like 5 like layers of corpses everywhere. So I think they might sort of have that issue with a bizarre like area. It'd be really cool if like you go here for these NPC shops if they could get it to work, but I think technically it's kind of screwed.
There's actually a specter in Lunaris Temple, I think, that if you put Desecrate next to it, it raises a zombie. That zombie stays. So you can go to the hideout, Desecrate, the specter will summon a zombie, and then you leave and you get a new specter, and you go into the hideout again. The zombie you raised from the previous specter is still there, so you can just fill out an entire hideout with zombies as well. And then get the carpet going.
It's true. Carve committed to this one time, and I had like 50 zombies in my thing. I did not appreciate that.
I don't know. But I guess on that, we should probably wrap up. So I'd like to thank Ghazzy again for coming on in Ziggy's place. And I'd like to thank
Thanks for having me.
Raiz for deciding to attend today. And then deciding to stop the coaching to also attend today.
Oh yeah, what was that? She just kept asking questions. It's like, okay, Lisa, I gotta go now. It's like, what about the skill tree?
No, it was mostly me, because now, like, if she does poorly, it's like, oh, it's Rise's fault, you know? So I'm just like, this one more thing, but, like, you're never gonna shut the fuck up about races. Like, I can talk about, like, the tiny little things. And, like, when you're coaching somebody, that's the worst thing. Because you can say so many things, but you're just like, oh, I better not say this because it's gonna be too confusing on top of this other stuff. It's like, I better shut up about that. But then later on, they find out about themselves. It's like, oh, why didn't you tell me you should do this? I'm just like, I didn't tell you because, yeah.
I think she's gonna win the race. I think she's gonna do great. I mean, she plays hardcore. You know, she's gotten to maps in hardcore.
No offense, I do think Lisa is the best player out of the ones attending, but she's also got the least experience racing, and it's like a completely different game, honestly. So, yeah.
I decided to commentate that one. You gotta rein it in.
Oh yeah. Oh shit. You gotta. Yeah. Oh snap.
You good? Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. Okay.
Okay, well, in that case, I'll hop over screens. You guys can drop the call and we'll throw a host over to Ghazzy. But I will see you all in 2 weeks' time.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.